Hello, how are you? I am Vanessa Ortali, and I am here with the stretch therapist, Sarah Mariano. I'm so excited to have you here today.
I'm excited to be
Yeah,
here.
welcome to our online summit. So the next series of interviews will all be under the online summit, The One. And the theme for this summit is one with self, one with purpose, one with others. And I know Sarah is so perfect for this. And what I really want to dive in with her today is how to connect to your mission, your vision, your purpose, your story, so that you can connect with others and turn that into a business and a community, because she's done this so well through her Instagram and through her training. So welcome, and I can't wait to hear all of your expertise and information about this topic, because you're just an awesome human and I know everyone will love you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to dive right in and ask you, when I say connecting to purpose, self, and others, what does that mean to you?
Right. So I always tell my coaching clients that it's really important to figure out who you are so that people can relate. So before you even think about connecting with other people, you have to connect with yourself. So what exercise I really urge a lot of people to do and my clients is to figure out what drives you and what your why is. And this is done very well by Simon Sinek. And so I would recommend reading his book, Find Your Why, and Start With Why. Start With Why is his precursor book that sort of tells you about why you should find your why. And then finding your why, he helps walk you through to exactly that, discovering why you do what you do. So for me, it's really to hone in on what drives you to help others. And I find a lot of people say, oh, I want to help people, but why? And it's really neat because he talks about really diving into some old memories or memories when you were a child that sort of shaped your outlook on life today, which is really wonderful. And it's nice to sort of go down that memory lane. And once you connect with that, and Vanessa, you're fantastic at this too, because I always call you a great connector of people. And I feel like it's because you know inherently who you are and why you want to help people. And so it's easier for you to operate from that place. So when you connect with other people, it's like, okay, well, I don't know what your drive is. And actually, I'd love to hear what your drive
Yeah, yours too.
is. And, why that drive allows you to see people in a certain way and notice connections between you. You should connect with this person because you'd be magic together. And so before you even, and you know what, I feel like we had a conversation about this, is we would network just knowing that that's the thing to do and creating relationships. But I think now that as we get older and we understand what drives us, these connections are much deeper now.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. What can you share? What is your why and why do
Yeah.
you do what you do?
So my why, it's interesting because, and you'll have to do this. I don't know about you, Vanessa, but I had to do this exercise over and over and over again.
I still do.
Yeah,
And
I still
really
do.
make sure, because I think it's so important to know that your goals are coming from a good place of intention and service, and
Mhm.
not from a monetary
Mm-mm.
and just drive and ego perspective. I'm always looking at, like, what is my mission? Why am I doing this? And am I truly being of service, or am I getting in my own way right now?
And I like that you mentioned that, like checking in with yourself. And
Mhm.
it's important, like every quarter to, people say to goal set, part of that goal setting for me is to check in with this aligned with my why. So my why, it's an overarching vision, right? And I want to let people know that it might not directly relate to your business right now, but you have an end goal. So my why is to help those who've always felt inadequate to reach their full potential. And this is because I was deep diving into my past. Growing up, I always felt like the underdog myself. And I wanted to showcase that I have a voice and I have this potential and I'm an intelligent, independent, bright woman of color specifically. And I feel like I'm finally living my truth and sort of breaking all these barriers and boundaries that we might impose on ourselves and that society might impose on ourselves. And I'm speaking specifically of women in color, but that can be any male, women, non-binary, whomever who feels like they've been set back. So I want to show them that, you can break through and find your voice. So that's my why. My why is to help people who felt inadequate to find their full potential.
So
What's yours?
then I want to go a little bit deeper here. How do you connect that to massage, stretch, fitness? Because that's
Right.
your industry that you're working in. So
Right.
people might be listening to you thinking, like, I'm a dentist. How do I tie my
Right.
why to that?
Absolutely. So if we go for the longer version of my why, it's to help those who felt inadequate to reach their full potential, mind, body, and spirit. So the mind part is, personal development, working with like-minded individuals. Maybe that means therapy, meditation, etc. So
Cool.
I always take a holistic approach in life. And then the physical part, body, is seeing the true potential of your own body. So I've also have been an athlete all my life. And so I love seeing what my body can do. When you watch people do crazy things like flip off like the Empire State, okay, I don't know if people do that, but they do incredible things. And the human body is incredible, and so is the mind. So to untap what your mind can do and then untap what your body can do, I love that, I really work on my mobility, flexibility, and then I can go into handstand and things like just things that you would not thought possible. And that ties in with the mind because, if you can see what your body can do and not impose those limitations, what can you do for your thought process? So to me, it's sort of like an endeavor that goes hand in hand with one another. I mean, what about you? Like, I just can imagine when you start to move and you work out and you connect that with any brain power you might have, it's just exponential. I don't know if
100%.
I'm
The
not
thing
making
I
sense.
love what you just said. And the thing about movement and body is connecting with your body goes hand in hand with connecting with your mind. The more you understand your body and how it works and how it moves, it's so empowering, but it also just connects you deeper with your source and who you are, and is the love and acceptance you have for yourself when you start to tune into your body. It takes it to a whole new level.
And I love that you said that when you understand, and if I'm going to get a little bit more technical here, I'll try and keep it as like high level as possible. But the mind and body obviously physically are connected. But if you understand the science of neuroplasticity, and neuroplasticity is the science in which your brain is fluid, so you can create new neural pathways. So that means new neural pathways for motor control or motor patterns and movement. So, for example, muscle memory or learning a new skill. Learning how to do a handstand, you're creating new neural pathways in the brain. Same with your thoughts. If you continue to think negatively, it's going to create that neural pathway of a negative thought process. However, if you really work at it, brain exercises, working with somebody, or really being in tune with yourself, and stopping yourself from thinking something negative and creating a new neural pathway, like sort of a bridge to positive thinking, that can manifest physically. And then if we're going to get more into energetic work, it can also affect the energy around you. But that's, I'm not an expert in all of that. This is just how I operate on a day-to-day basis. It's just thinking about all those things. So to answer your question about connecting with others, how can that apply to connecting others? There is evidence to show, and again, I'm not an expert, so maybe after this talk, I can give you some articles that you can let people know about and read, or some books.
Joe Dispenza is great at this too.
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect. There we go.
Yeah.
Joe Dispenza, and they talk about how, so everything is, scientifically, everything is made out of matter and energy. And so you have the capacity to affect your own energy and then thereby affecting energy in the air and then subsequently another individual that's near you. I mean, for example, when you go into a room and you feel a nervous energy from someone, you go like, okay, that person's a little sketchy. That's you being affected by somebody else's energy. And you also have the power to sort of manipulate that energy. I don't want to use the word manipulate, but also affect that energy.
Yeah.
So I think when you can control your energy and your output, wow, we're getting into like an
I love
energetic
this. I'm so
conversation.
passionate about this stuff.
You can also help or assist another person's energy. So when I have someone that I'm stretching, for example, and that was a roundabout way to get to your question. I consider that. I think about, okay, what energy am I putting out? How's it affecting them? I want to present a healing sort of vibe or energy to this person that I'm stretching. And I also consider their energy when they come in. So we do an intake form, myself and our team. That's really important to find out what's going on in their lives. And then we also, to some degree, maybe subconscious, not saying that we're energy practitioners, not at all, but you do, when you meet someone, you sort of kind of get a feel for what their energy is like. So we do that in a session, and then that will help us approach a stretch with an individual.
Yeah.
And the goal at the end of that session, sorry to cut you off, I
Yeah.
just wanted to make my point clear, that at the end, our goal is to ensure that they feel better, right? Hopping off the table or off the ground, moving their body, their mind feels better, and also their spirit. So
Yeah, I want to highlight though, I love how in the beginning, when you were talking about your mission and vision and your why, it was all about connecting mind, body, spirit with others. But I want to highlight, if you're listening to this, you can hear how much you've also done that for yourself.
thank
And
you.
I think to be an effective entrepreneur, or just to be your best and for you to feel good, it's a holistic approach, even on your end. So if you're listening to this and you're really focused on your physical or your mind or, emotion, it's all together. So how can you balance that within you so that you become your best self and become one with yourself? It's not something that changes overnight. And to go back to rewiring your pathways, like, it takes time and commitment. I often talk about this because I'm a mindset, I'm obsessed. I used to spend, and I still spend, hours rewiring my pathways, and I feel them come up and I'm thinking, holy crap, how are you still there? But when I call it the mind, I call it the mental Olympics.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
like that.
literally training. There's the training of the mind, training of the body, and they go hand in hand. So I love that when you are talking from yourself and with your clients, you bring in that approach. It's so great. I love it. I'll share my why, and
Yes,
it's
please.
funny because there is similarities. And my why, so like I just said, I'm obsessed with mindset because I used to feel like I was, and I still sometimes do, like I'm just an alien and I'm just so crazy and that I am so different. And it made me feel so alone and made me
Mm.
feel like no one would ever like me. I was never going to find a partner, because I just felt so weird. And in that, I am so passionate about figuring out my own conditioning, my own negative thought patterns, which were a lot. And still, I hear her like screaming in my ears. And so my dedication to change that, I want people to know that it's possible to change your conditioning. And I don't want other people to feel alone. I want people to know that they're not the only one, to embrace their uniqueness and to really start to accept and love yourself, good and bad. And I'm always on that journey. But how we can manipulate that through reprogramming of the mind and our body.
I think that's fantastic. And
Right?
I think, and I don't know whoever's watching if how well you know Vanessa, but I've known Vanessa for a couple of years now. And I feel like you exude exactly that. And I love when people can articulate their why. And I know it's not easy. You do have to do the work, as you said. And I didn't know exactly what my why was. And you do have to sit yourself down, and you might have to go through some bad past memories and figure out what drives you. But um, I feel like Vanessa, you and I are constantly working on, while we're working on our business development, it goes hand in hand to work on personal development, because you are your limiting factor. So if you can't get out of your mind or untap that potential, then how do you expect your business or anything that's an extension of you to do well? So I encourage you all to find your why.
And this goes back to the theme and what you had said when we started this interview. In order for you to connect to others, you have to connect with self first. And so once people have found their mission and vision, I'd love to hear from you. How can you start to draw that connection and connect with others and share your story, share your vision, share your why, so that you can build that
Right.
momentum and community that you've done so well?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think once you find your why, you're right. There's more work to be done. How do you now sort of depict that or portray that to other people? I think it's really important to understand. And for me, storytelling is really important, and understand how to tell your story. You don't necessarily have to be a great storyteller, not everyone is, but you need to be familiar with your own story. And I find, even myself, I was not familiar with my story. I'm like, what is my story? So I find reading a book recently, and it's a new book, it's called Stories That Stick by Kendra Hall. Very easy read. And she begins the book with her story, which is really nice. And then she goes through really great examples of people who've told their story. And if we're going to if I'm talking to an entrepreneur, she talks about how you can apply your story to your business. So, what is the story of you, the founder, and then what is the story of your business? And how can you sort of merge the two? I think when you find your why, it's when you become an entrepreneur and you want to sell whatever it is, your service, your product, etc., you have to get people to relate. And the only way people can relate is if you tell your story. So, how I do that is obviously sitting down, doing worksheets or figuring that out, and then might seem easy, but you practice. You practice on someone like Vanessa, you practice on different people. So you want to practice on your family, friends, you want to practice on your demographic. So once you figure out your demographic, you practice on them, former clients, current clients, past clients, and colleagues, and then also people who are much more successful than you. You definitely want to test that there. Another way to do it is, and it's interesting because I've been saying it out loud, I guess I want to hold myself accountable, is I'm going to sign up for a stand-up comedy writing class
So
in
fun.
Second City. And it's a 7-week program, and they teach you how to tell your story, like the art of storytelling. And then they teach you how to write your type 5, which is essentially a 5-minute spiel, a stand-up sort of segment. So you can do it that way too. And there's a ton of resources online. I think looking up storybrand.com has been really helpful for me to figure out the storytelling of my business specifically. But yeah, I think those are the 3 things. Read stories that stick, maybe join a story writing workshop or a stand-up comedy workshop, and visit storybrand.com.
What are some really cool tips, just as we're finishing up this interview, that you can give that have been really effective for you to build your community as well as build I like that you mentioned, looking at your peers, your avatar, who you want to target, but then also above. If you aren't familiar with Sarah's work, Sarah stretches celebrities and really well-known people around the world. How did you tap into that market and make sure that your message also resonated with them so you could build your business?
Right. So, okay. So I mentioned about knowing your story and then having a type 5, etc. But you won't always have the opportunity to tell your story for 5 minutes to someone. And with the advent of social media, it's next to impossible to tell a story. You have to catch their attention in the blink of an eye. And so for me, it was really important to use Instagram as a medium to tell my story. And that's why it's important to go back and figure out what your story is and what's your message and your drive, your mission, vision, etc. And then how do you apply it to Instagram? So for me, it's to have a consistent message, or AKA a consistent story. So when I post something, I think, is this aligning with my story? Is that message coming across? Even in the bios and the pictures and the videos I use, what is the messaging? It's to tell a story. Okay, well, I've told my story about being injured, etc., but they're not always going to care about that. They want to know what it can do for them. So how do you relate your story to them and their pain points? Yeah, you identify their pain points and then you address it in that post or what have you. So I hope I've done a really good job. I've heard that my work has been consistent. I'm still actually working on telling a better story. So it's an ongoing process. But I think when it came to connecting with inspiring people I've always wanted to work with, I think it was that. It was catching their eye with a really cool video, because being stretched looks really cool. But then when they go to the page and when they go to the post and read the caption, there's something more for them there, right? And I feel like if somebody reads a post and they see my page, for example, that story comes all together. And I think that's what helped, attracting celebrity clients or whomever, influence, whatever, to my page and then connecting with me. And I'd like to say my personality comes across in my Instagram, but you guys tell me.
Yeah. If you want, I know you have a freebie too. If people want some more information on how to build their story, how to build the brand and bring it over into Instagram and social media, I'm going to tag this. So look below this video. Can you say it out loud of how do they get to this free master?
Yeah, actually, I don't know if this is allowed, Vanessa. Can I share my screen so people can see? Is that?
You know what? Yeah, not everyone will be, so this will also be audio, so not everyone will see it. But if you want to share.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that if people are just listening.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Here, and they'll
Okay.
know. Yeah.
You know what? I'll do a step-by-step instruction.
Okay.
You visit The Stretch Therapist on Instagram. So at The Stretch Therapist. If you go into my link in the bio section, you can click on my Linktree URL. And then I believe the first option should say free training or free masterclass, how to attract clients, build credibility, and be known. So I do a 40-minute free masterclass, free training on all of the things we talked about, but a little bit more in detail. And then I also give you an option to take that education further and join my video online course called Up Your Insta Game. And I show you exactly how I put knowing what your why is, putting your story together, and then applying it to Instagram so that it can build your brand and business.
Awesome. And is it different to get a celebrity? I know there might be people watching this who may want to coach or stretch or work with celebrities. How can you move into that area and get those clients?
That's interesting. I don't know exactly the way in which to do that. I can just speak to my experience. And I think, obviously, being authentic. I'm not a pushy salesperson. I only like to help people and provide them with information. So I think, again, understanding the tactics of storytelling and letting them know.
Through storytelling.
Pardon?
You sell through storytelling?
I try to. Okay. I'm still working on it. For me, though, yes. For me, telling a story, and sometimes it might not be my story, but might be a story of my clients, or I want people to relate to each other. So I'm always inspired by my clients who've, overcome so many obstacles that I've never experienced, but I like to tell that story. And, growing up, I was always told I'm a great storyteller, and I tried to build on that skill set as well. And I think that's why I don't need to be such an aggressive salesperson, is because I like to tell stories and build connections. So I think if you want to get into that realm of celebrities or whomever, all I can say is I was authentic and true to myself. I worked on being the best. I'm a stretch therapist and I run a stretch therapy company. I worked on being the best stretch therapist and go-to expert. And I'll be the first to say I'm not the best stretch therapist out there. Absolutely not. But I will say I am the best storyteller stretch therapist, or the best marketing stretch therapist. So it's important to also build your brand. And when I say brand, it's like, how do you portray your story? That's a brand. So I would urge you to really figure out what that story is and practice telling it to other people. and maybe that will draw the right people to come. So I always knew I wanted to work with pro athletes and celebrities because they inspire me. And
And
I
The Rock.
think, pardon?
So,
And
and The
The
Rock,
Rock.
which is your
I have not searched him yet, fingers crossed. But I think putting all those things I discussed earlier, which is finding your why, etc., but also understanding your energy affects other people's energy. So I think my energy was attracting that sort of clientele. And it's inexplicable to me. Some days I'm just like, how do I even know this person, you know? But I think, again, yeah, being a good person, I think that's important. Although there are people who aren't good people who found success. So I don't know. This
I
is just
always
my way of doing
that,
things.
man, well, I don't understand. I must not understand energy to its fullest, but
Yeah,
maybe they still don't have limiting beliefs in those areas.
I agree. Yeah.
Right?
It's hard to pinpoint exactly what makes people successful, even if they're not like the greatest human being. But again, we don't know their full story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the best I could hope for, is to be a good person, good at what I do, and then to sort of put that energy out and then do the work. Problem is, a lot of people say all those things. Like, I'm also in the yoga space, and so it's all about energy and intention, but you got to put that intention to action. So something actionable.
I see that too in the spirituality yoga space. There is this huge market right now in that space for you to still be spiritual, but then execute
Yeah.
really well and merge that. And even when I'm coaching clients, we talk a lot about how do you merge your alignment, your spirituality, your connection with business, because you still have to have really solid business strategies and execute in order to generate revenue. But it's not just about the revenue, because when you're generating revenue, you can help more people. You can get out there. And if you are making $1 million, you're more likely than not helping 1 million people. So how do you do that to your capability and reach the people that you want to be reaching?
I think that's a really good question to pose, and I'm really excited to see whoever's watching if how you will answer that question, because it's not an easy question.
Mm.
So hopefully this was a helpful. These tidbits of information both Vanessa and I gave you guys really helpful.
Tell me, as we close out, what is your vision for yourself, your business? Bring us into what that looks like in your life right now.
Yes. So it's funny because I have vision statements for personal and also business. So currently, I have two business statements because I have different facets of my business. One of them is to ensure every fitness and wellness professional has the tools to build their own business. Because as we know, fitness and wellness professionals don't learn how to build a business. I'm definitely a part of that, to learn on my own. And then for the stretching side, because we also teach stretch therapy, we have my own system called the Performance Stretch System, and we have courses live in person. And that vision statement is every person feels the joy of being stretched. So that's my mission statement for that. Personal, though, which is a little bit trickier, is to enable myself or allow for myself to invest or support projects and causes that matter to me. So that's my overall vision. Is we had this conversation, Vanessa. We want to be like angel investors and CEOs and like invest in things that matter to us and invest in people like us 10 years ago, or other women who want to become successful entrepreneurs and give them a voice. So I think that that's definitely my vision.
Yeah, and sharing how you got there, I think, is a huge step. How did you learn everything that you learned to get here right now?
I think it's really important to be a self-starter and to be an initiator. I think that I've always been that sort of person. And also, like you, and that's why I relate to you, you grew up feeling different. And I know a lot of people do, but we acknowledged that we felt different and we did something about it. You know, we wanted to turn the tables in our favor, maybe, right? Or make a life better for ourselves, or to use that difference or adversity that we felt into something great. And I know we talked about how we felt we were destined for greatness. And I think it's aligning yourself to that notion. For me, I didn't believe that I could ever find greatness, even though I've always felt it internally. So once, I became aware of that and I wanted to use that to my full potential, um, it just sort of became a driver for me to learn everything and everything I could. So you're a lot like me, actually. We put ourselves in vulnerable positions all the time. Like, it's funny because when Vanessa and I went to what was it? It was a fundraising
Oh yeah,
conference.
an investor conference.
Yeah. And I just saw you running around to every CEO or whoever was speaking that resonated with you and just picking their brain, asking for advice. And that's exactly what you need to do. You need to be a self-starter. I've always wanted to showcase that I'm an intelligent individual as well. And so reading a ton of books, really asking myself the deeper questions. Okay, what is my motivation? Why am I behaving this way? And trying to understand how I can make a better life for myself was the key motivation. So a lot of it was self-starting, but also accepting help from other people. You and I know the importance of finding a good mentor, right? You have a board of directors or a board of advisors. Um, and so I think it's really important to find people who maybe your colleagues around your station, or and then definitely people who are above your level, and to learn from all different areas. And to humble, I feel like what I love about you, Vanessa, is that you're so humble, but you're always striving to be better. And I think that's a practice I take upon myself, and I think that's probably why we connect so well together.
Sometimes I feel like it's a sickness because I really have to focus on being okay with where I am and I don't celebrate enough because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always
Yeah,
like, great, what's next? What's next? Like
yeah,
nothing's a big deal
yeah.
that I accomplish, especially if it was easy. And so I'm like, oh, but on to the next. Where am I
Yeah.
going from here? And so it's good in the sense that it keeps us moving and
Mhm.
accomplishing and executing really well. But then sometimes it can be a little exhausting. So it's this balance.
Oh, 100%. I feel you exactly. You're right. Like, I never took a moment to celebrate. I grew up in sort of an upbringing where you don't really celebrate, you just do. And you
Yeah.
keep going and thrive and excel. But I think as I get older, and I feel like you are also along the same lines, where we do take moments to celebrate because it is important psychologically, and it will, in the long run can help the business for us to gain that clarity and see how far we've come, not to burn ourselves out. And I mean, I'm trying to celebrate a little bit. Every little milestone, I'm trying to celebrate a little bit more too. So.
Yeah, I move a lot slower now, that's for sure. Tell us what you are currently working on right now, personally, professionally.
Yes. Specifically, the performance stretch system, which is my baby right now, and I'm really proud of it. It's a floor-based assisted stretching system, and it's for trainers, fitness and wellness professionals who want to learn how to add that value to their clients. So um, the performance stretch system level 1, it's a 3-day program, and then I teach you a 90-minute sequence that you can stretch someone on the floor with. It's really really fun and really fantastic. I love teaching the course, and I had a board of chiro advisors help me really develop the system and break everything down. So for me, it was important to have a good quality system, and also ensure that I wasn't hurting anyone or putting anyone in danger. And so what I loved is that we broke every single stretch down, every single movement, where our hands were, contact points, etc. And we put in together this beautiful system, which was really a collective effort. And I'm always sort of the ideas person, but it definitely helps to have a tribe help you see that vision come true. So that's my biggest thing I'm working on right now.
And personally, what are you working on right now?
Oh, always working on things, Vanessa.
Aren't
um,
we all?
yeah, you know what? A lot of it, I mean, it's ongoing, always trying to prevent myself from going down that negative self-talk rabbit hole. But I think hugely is speaking up and speaking out more. And I mean, that's why I want to take this stand-up writing class and getting better at listening to other people. I say this as we're doing this interview, and I'm like, I probably talk like 90% of the time.
That's the point. I'm interviewing you.
And being more, honing in on my compassionate bone. I've always felt like I've always been a very compassionate person, but now actually identifying what issues or problems someone's going through and seeing how I can effectively help them through what I do. So if it's business coaching, personal development, or stretch therapy, yeah.
Beautiful. Honestly, I love where this conversation went. We're going to have to come back and do a much longer
Seriously.
interview. But I really think that, talking about the why, vision, Instagram, I think we gave people a lot of really good takeaways from this chat. And make sure that you go check out Sarah, the Stretch Therapist, on Instagram and get her free masterclass to help guide. And if you're interested in her stretch program, one-on-one coaching, and or her Insta, you can also see that in her feed and reach out, tell her you're from the ladies community and or Heart and Mind Talks, because we're also going to launch this on Heart and Mind Talks. And thank you, Sarah, for being here and for being so vulnerable and sharing who you are. You can tell that you've done the work because talking isn't even hard for you, right? Like, no questions off limits. This is Sarah. This is who she is. And you're amazing and beautiful. Thank you for being here. You make the world a better place.
Thank you. I love you.
Yeah, love you. See you.
Bye.